Today on the Millennial Homeowner podcast, we're going to be talking about 3 real estate cliches that are actually true. Hi, everyone. My name is Thomas Harrington. I'm your Edmonton and area Realtor, and I am also a millennial, and I'm the host of the Millennial Homeowner podcast, which you are listening to right now. So today what we're talking about is 3 real estate cliches that are actually true. So what I mean by this is that these are little pieces, little nuggets, little tidbits of advice that you've probably heard or have seen out there by other agents. They're out there, they're giving this advice, and they give these very same points, and they're all points that have been beaten to death so much that you probably can't help but roll your eyes when you hear any of these below points. I know I do, right? So, that I guess that's what makes them a cliche. However, the reason you hear these so often is that they're actually true. So, step one, cliche number 1: the first step in buying a home is to get pre-approved. Now, it's natural to have the reaction of thinking, no, the first step is to look at homes. Why would I get pre-approved? Numbers are boring, and I want to look at homes. Now, if you just had a thought, something similar to that, or if when I said that you thought to yourself, no, I know how much I can afford, stop right there. You are someone who needs to get pre-approved. Absolutely. So, first is to get pre-approved. Now, look, for practical reasons, Canada's mortgage rules have changed over the past couple years. That's no real secret. The stress test rules came in, I want to say, over 2 years ago as of this recording. They're not exactly new news. They are old news, in fact. But ultimately, even though they are a few years old and the dust has settled, there is still quite a bit of confusion out there. And you also might be surprised by what you can afford. Now, I mean that up or down. That surprise can go both ways in terms of you may be able to afford more than you realize. Or, more likely when it comes to the stress test rules, it did decrease affordability. But if you're listening to this, there's a decent chance you're a first-time buyer. You might actually be able to afford more than you think, or I guess a better way to say that would be you can actually, afford a home without maybe realizing it necessarily. Now, part of this is there may be a surprise on your credit history you're not aware of, or even your income type may affect affordability, I guess, in terms of negatives, right? So this is Alberta. People work a ton of overtime, and lots of people are contract workers. That's okay, but there are a ton of rules around these various income types and mortgage qualifications. So it's not uncommon for what you think you can afford and what you actually can to be a little bit off. Now, either way we slice this, there's nothing more disheartening, more soul-crushing, more disappointing than getting ahead of yourself and looking at homes and finding the one you love and then getting that rug yanked out from underneath you when you don't qualify for it. And unfortunately, I can say that I have seen that happen firsthand. I really harken on and really harp on the getting pre-approved first before we even go look at a home, but it has still happened in my experience. It's quite disappointing for all parties involved, frankly. So 100% pre-approval truly is the first step in buying a home. I know it's not quite as fun. You're not looking at nice homes with cool living rooms, nice kitchens, nice granite countertop upgrades, but you got to get down to the numbers first. That's the true step 1. Talk to your friendly neighborhood mortgage broker, and hey, if you're in the Edmonton area and need a referral for a great one, don't be shy. I can hook that up for you. Cliche number 2: use a realtor. Wow, that last sentence honestly pained me to say. I rolled my eyes, my skin was crawling. I maybe even threw up in my mouth a little bit because it's so cliche, cringy, typical bias to come from me, right? I know how cheesy it sounds, but really it is best to hire an agent to represent you, assist in your search, and help guide you along the way. You are hiring someone to work for you, work in your best interests, be a seasoned negotiator. In other large parts of your life, you probably hire a professional, right? If you're going to court, you would hire a lawyer. If you have complicated taxes, you probably hire an accountant. If you're getting married, you may hire a wedding planner. So if you are purchasing your first home, you probably should hire an agent. It is truly the largest purchase you will ever make, aside from the home after that. But we'll talk about that later. So now, speaking of cliches, I don't necessarily mean use me. There's a good chance, if you're listening to this in Edmonton, I'm not the only realtor you know, and there's a realtor you know closer to you. Ultimately, as an inexperienced agent, we have gone through the home buying and selling process countless times. Now, conversely, most people only buy or sell home a handful of times in their lives, right? Even if someone has moved around a lot in their life, they've probably only moved 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Those would be very high numbers if you've moved that many times. If your parents have, grandparents, whatever. As for a realtor, some realtors help assist people in that many moves in a single month, right? There's also a decent chance that this is your first time buying a home. I'll admit it's possible to pull your own tooth. You can renovate a home yourself. You could represent yourself in court, going back to my earlier point, but it's often better to have that seasoned and experienced professional assisting you along the way. Now, the last point here, and what I like to tell people is agents are a voice of reason and a bit of a devil's advocate. So, I've always taken what I would call a consultant approach and play more of a matchmaker role. We're not here to sell you anything or any one specific home when it comes to being your buyer's agent. Rather, we are searching together for the right place to call home and finding that right match that works for you, you and your significant other, you and your family, whoever. Now, the simple analogy I give is if we're working together and I'm your buyer's agent, is picture, like in the cartoons, two little versions of me standing on each shoulder. One's an angel and one's a devil, and we'll kind of point out the pros and cons of a property to you, right? In fact, a good agent should sometimes challenge your decisions in terms of asking really good questions and making sure you are making the right choice. Now, I don't mean being confrontational by any means. It's more so, I guess the best way I can say this is, and asking the hard questions and just making sure you're making a good, informed decision. And also those tough questions help us find a better fitting home for you. Now, cliche number 3. Buyer's agents are free. So, well, 2 things. I guess I'll clarify. In the vast majority of deals, there are actually 2 realtors, particularly in Edmonton and Canada, all of Canada for that matter. So you typically have what most people refer to as the listing agent or seller's agent, and then the buyer's agent. So listing agent is the one who represents the seller. They're the one who puts the sign on the lawn. They represent that seller, that home specifically. And then you have your buyer's agent, who's someone who is out touring a buying client around. You're showing them homes, like we just chatted about, playing matchmaker, finding them the right fit. So anyways, buyer's agents are free. A lot of people go to a buyer's agent to buy a home. It is a good idea for the reasons mentioned above. But anyways, a cliche you hear out there is that buyer's agents are free. And well, you know, the reason I say this is sometimes people are a bit sheepish or shy when they're seeking my help on buying, as they'll say, hey, Thomas, you know, how much do you charge? Let's talk numbers. This is obviously your job. You're not doing this for free. And I'm always delighted to say that as a buyer's agent, my services are free to you. I've been doing this 5 years. I've helped people buy many, 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 many homes, and I have collected $0 on the buying side, $0 in buyer's commission. The way it works is the sellers pay us, right? So end of the day in Alberta, the seller pays commission almost all of the time. Essentially how it works is the seller pays commission to their realtor, and their realtor is splitting it with any buyer's agent. They offer what's called a cooperating commission because the MLS is what's called a cooperative system. I'm not going to bore you with the details of that, but the vast majority of the time working with a buyer's agent, it won't cost you anything out of pocket. Like I just said, I have proudly collected $0 from my buyer clients over the years, and I intend to keep it that way. So now, just to be transparent here, like I said, this is my job. You're the one paying for the home, and your money goes to the seller, and the seller pays out commissions. So you could say, yes, it is effectively your money in a way, but the key point to understand before things start to sound too good to be true is, yes, it's your money, but no, it is not any additional out-of-pocket expense to you. I hope that makes sense the way I'm articulating this. If you have any questions, please let me know. DM me on Instagram at thomasharrington.ca, or you can shoot me an email, hello@thomasharrington.ca. So going back to the buyer's agent thing, ultimately, look, you're getting the advice you need, someone on your side working for you, and it's not an out-of-pocket cost. It's no cost to you. So there you have it. Short and sweet one for you guys today. A few painfully cheesy, often heard, and beaten to death real estate cliches that are actually true. Now, if you have any more questions about buying or selling, don't be shy. If you're in the greater Edmonton area, shoot me a message in the DMs. Facebook message as well. If you just search Thomas Harrington Real Estate, I'll pop up there. Shoot me a Facebook message there. Or you can go old school, email me, hello@thomasharrington.ca. More than happy to help you out. Thank you so much for listening to the Millennial Homeowner. I try to do 1 to 2 episodes per month on topics that you millennials will find valuable and are important to you as you go on your journey towards buying and selling real estate. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.